Hello, my name is Sophie. I'm a rising senior at BC, majoring in international studies. I just returned, no, I returned in March from studying abroad in Paris, France at Sorbonne University. I was supposed to be there until the end of May, but of course, because of COVID-19, my experience got cut short. But I think having to deal with COVID-19 kind of spreading in Europe while I was there gave me kind of a really unique study abroad experience and a crazy set of memories from my time there. I think being in Paris, living there and figuring out how to navigate everything was a really good experience and definitely changed me and made me stronger. But I think even more so leaving Paris because of COVID-19 was really where I had my biggest kind of learning process and kind of realizations about myself. And that was the kind of the aspect that really changed my perception of myself and of the world around me. Because when I was leaving, France was in the process of closing their borders. I had had a flight canceled like 6 or 7 times. I ended up having to go to London in order to get a flight into the U.S. Trump's travel ban had just been started, so they were being really strict with security. They really didn't want to let anyone who had been in Europe leave and come back into the U.S. Having to deal with being screened by the CDC. There was just a lot of different aspects in like a very short 72-hour span of traveling and stress that were really impactful for me and were a real test of my perseverance and my adaptability and kind of the first times in my life where I was like, okay, I either need to figure this out or I'm going to deal with like real life consequences, aka being stuck in Paris for the next 6 months while they quarantined. And it was crazy for me because I realized like even though that decision or those choices that I made in that 72-hour span would have altered my reality significantly because I would be stuck in Paris. At the end of the day, they weren't life or death decisions. At the end of the day, I would have gotten an apartment in Paris and I would have had food. I would have figured it out and I would have been alive and I would have been healthy. And it made me realize how much we as humans, I mean, I think especially as Americans, we kind of live in our own little bubbles and our own little worlds, and we rarely have to face such dire consequences, aka like life or death decisions. And we are very privileged in that we can ignore a lot of the suffering that occurs in the world. And we, in our own realities, things can seem so dire, but when you take a step back, or when you're put into a situation where things actually are life or death, you get a new perspective and you see just how not insignificant, because those are decisions in your life, but how kind of little they matter in the grand scheme of things, and how your privilege can kind of alter what you deem as important. And so I think that being abroad for me was kind of just a lot of learning and unlearning what my very privileged life in the U.S. has taught me. And I think one of the greatest myths about going abroad is that after 2 or 3 weeks, you reach a point where you're set. You've dealt with the culture shock, you've dealt with the homesickness, you've adjusted. In that adjustment period is over, and then the rest of the time abroad is just blissful and you frolicking around whatever country you're in. But for me at least, and I don't know if this is because I was only there so briefly and I didn't get the full experience of adjusting. I don't think that adjustment period ever ends, and I think you are constantly learning and unlearning and figuring things out. I mean, you both physically because you're navigating a new place, but also mentally and emotionally. And I think that that's something that is kind of definitely a myth, and something that we tell students like, okay, you're gonna go and yeah, it'll be 3 weeks and it'll be really difficult, but then after that you'll be fine. I think you reach a point after 3 or 4 weeks where you haven't finished adjusting. You're not comfortable. You're just comfortable being uncomfortable. And I think that is something that's really important no matter where you're at in life, whether I was in Paris or whether I'm in the US, is that I need to learn how to be comfortable being uncomfortable, because life is hardly ever going to go the way I think life is going to go. So that's something that I would tell anyone who's thinking about going abroad, is kind of just don't overthink it, because at the end of the day, it's just going to be another life experience you're going to learn from. It's going to help form you into who you are. And yeah, you want to plan and you want to prep and you want to make predictions about how it's going to go, and you want to get your visa and you want to figure out budgeting and all that, and that's great because it is a big change. But at the end of the day, there's only so much prep you can do, because it is just another life experience and it's hardly ever going to be predictable. So you have to kind of let go and take it as it comes, let it shape you, because you can't control it. I thought I was going abroad for 6 months. I thought I was gonna have the full experience. I was there for 2 months because a pandemic came. I never could have predicted that. But it's something that I had to deal with as it came, and I had to kind of let go of control. And I think I'm better for it. Thank you.